Welcome everybody to Full Spectrum Universe. My name is Rob Yox. Welcome to Full Spectrum Universe. We have a great show for you today. It's called The Big Three. This is brought to you by Full Spectrum Universe. It is Full Spectrum Universe. We are here. We are ready to really go ahead and put this forward and give you the best news and information that you can find across the entire internet right now. We've got a lot of good topics for everybody today. I'd like to thank everybody for being here. We're going to give it a couple moments. We're just going to talk for a moment. And I want to introduce a few people that I have with me today. First, we're going to be introducing one of my good buddies is Omar from Watchers Talk Radio. Omar, how are you?
Good, brother. Good. How are you?
I'm very good. Very good. Third on the agenda. Yep. Third on the agenda that rounds out the big three would be Mr. Leonard O'Neill from Orion Rising.
Hey, how we doing? How's everybody doing
There
today?
we go, boys. There we go, guys. We're ready to rock and roll. We're just going to let a couple people file in over here real quick before we actually get started. Gentlemen, anything on your minds that you want to talk about? Anything specific besides the topics that we're going to be talking about today, of course? Anybody have anything coming up that they want to discuss? Anybody want to promote anything?
Yeah, actually, I do. On Ancient Aliens Worldwide coming up, I believe the first Saturday in August, we're going to be doing another live show. And I'm not exactly sure the lineup this time. We're working on it. It might be Ed Edwards again, but I think we're working on somebody else as well. So we are planning to go live and do another live show that I'll be producing for those guys. Mandy is putting together, people and shows. She loves doing that and going live. So I'm producing the show for them. It's my group that I've created. She's running the thing now, which ticks off some people who used to be admins that used to admin for me. But, as I never turned over the reins to anybody, but not 100%. I'm pretty much letting her do that. I don't have time. I mean, I'm doing this, right? I don't have time to run that group. It has 243,000 members right now. I don't have time to be running that and being there constantly, so I have to have a good team to take care of it for me, and that's what she's put together over there, and she's doing a lot more for the group than anyone has, including myself, has in the past. So, I mean, when she's wanting to put together shows and have me produce them, I'm not going to tell her no. How do you do that?
Well, of course.
Right? How do you do that? And Omar and I were just talking again off camera, and we're really trying to hammer out, guys, getting a schedule for he and I to where we can record the Law of One, because he wants to be back on Fridays for the Law of One. And we may, Omar, I said, I know I'm talking on camera here, taking up our valuable time, but if we need to change the time of that show, bro, if you can get home like on Friday and we could do a 5 o'clock slot or a 6 o'clock slot and go live, dude, I'll move the show. I don't care who we step on. Before I was being nice and I didn't want to step on, what's his name, Augie Nost, because he's got a couple of shows, right?
Yeah.
Well, even on my worst day, I have better turnout than he does. No offense, Augie, I love you to death. Right, but your show just isn't as popular as mine, so you're gonna have to move over. If I have to take your slot, I will. Right,
and that's just the way it is. Sorry,
you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be mean, but
I love it. I love it.
Rob, if your show gets bigger than mine one day, right, and Omar, he does it too, right? He's like, I'm the Prince of Darkness, man. I'm not afraid of anybody, right? He's like, he'll do. Hey, if there's a couple guys that have shows that go live on 4 o'clock when I go, and I know they're stealing my audience, right? There's a couple dudes out there that have way more people than I do, but you know what? I'm not going to hide. So if we'll figure this out off camera, you and I, Omar. And I'd love to go live again.
Strategy,
right?
It's strategy too, right? Because I know I won't go live when Portal to Ascension's on, because I know Neil has the attention of the people,
Agreed.
right? So there's no point in going live at that time. So I'll wait till he's finished. And then I'll usually go like maybe a half an hour after he's done, give the people a time to really, think about what they just saw. And
that's like when Dino was doing, Paranormal Into the Night. I never stepped on him.
Yeah.
He's one of the
and the
guys
whole
that
thing
helped me
right now
out
is
in this business,
Yeah, and the whole thing with this right now, with this whole COVID thing, right? It's like a job comes in and, you can't say no. So you go in because I'm a subcontractor. Right. So, when a job comes in, I got to go and do it, right? And I'm going to stick with it until it's finished. And then I'm home for, who knows how long, a week, maybe a day or 2 weeks, not really quite sure. So right now it's like up and down, but definitely, even if it's like at midnight, we have to record. We should like really figure out a schedule and do it. Because I miss doing the loft one. You know me. You know, I lived that life and have been my entire life. So to
Right.
not do it,
Right.
you know, it's quite painful actually.
I'd
You know,
love
I
to
think
figure out if we can find a way to go live, bro, on that night.
Yeah.
So if you can, let me know how your Fridays work. Even if you're working, what time you would get home, and then give yourself time to relax. Because if we need to go live at 8 o'clock our time, I'll do it.
Yeah.
As long
So
as we're
for
off
me-
the air by 10, because I have
Yeah.
thin walls, and the people that used to live upstairs would stomp
Yeah.
on the ground if I was loud after 10 o'clock. These are younger kids, but so far I haven't had that happen, but who knows if they're trying to sleep. So if we, that's why I always say if we got to get off by 10 just to be safe, because these walls are
Yeah.
thin, and the upstairs neighbors just don't dig on. My voice is like a duck's voice. It travels through walls. It really does.
You
Yeah.
and both.
I
Mine's
got
super deep.
I got a pretty cool show coming up here on Tuesday, July 28th for me. And my guest again is from Australia. I have a lot of people coming in from Australia, as you guys might have seen by now.
That's good,
July 29th. Her name is Leah Capitelli, and she has, regressed her previous life, and she's come to find out that she was, lived around the time of Atlantis. So she's going to kind of walk us through that story, and she's a contactee that's been getting contact her entire life, and she's an artist and an author. So that will be happening on my channel on Tuesday, on the 28th, about 6 p.m. Pacific time. So that's it from my end, Rob.
I look forward to that show very, very much. I love past life regression stuff. I feel like that I have a lot of that in my dreams. So bringing it to the forefront, well, I've been really trying to find a way to do it while meditating or being active or just on a regular basis. Is very hard to pinpoint that for myself, but as you could tell a little bit, just to let everybody know, I'm a little bit more comfortable with a couple people doing it with me. This first show was just me, so it was all me, but we're here now. Is there somebody who wants to start? I can start. Whoever wants to go for it. Omar,
I'll do it if you want. I don't care.
Can I go first?
Sure.
I was hoping you would, because I know you had a good story. Go ahead.
So this has been, this is a 5-month-old story. Okay, this started in March, and conspiracy theory or not, too bad I don't have my tinfoil hat, because I would put that on for you guys right now. Okay, so this is the biggest story on the planet, and we have the Democratic, cabal-infested media that's owned by 6 people across the world that is not reporting this story. So you guys are probably wondering what this is, okay? Even myself, I was ignorant to this up until about a month ago, when I seen a video by my buddy Michael Tallinger, and he was talking about the U.S. Federal Reserve and the U.S. Treasury merging, and he was talking about Donald Trump having essentially taken over the Federal Reserve and merged it together. And I was like, oh my God, this is insane, because if that's real, this is the death of capitalism. So I began investigating, just as, Leo and I have said on our shows before, that if you don't believe me, go out, research, investigate, and if you prove me wrong. So, I set out on that notion, but my notion wasn't set out to go and prove Michael Tallinger wrong. My notion was to go out and to prove him right, because I realized that we have this cabal-infested media that's not reporting on the world's biggest story. So I began researching. I began reading articles, and I began watching videos and news videos, things like that, and then conspiracy-based videos as well on YouTube, and fringe videos, everything. Because what Michael Tallinger had said is that they're not going to just like outright give you this information. What they're going to do is they're going to drop you a little tad of information here and a little tad over here, and this article and this article. So what you have to do is you have to connect the dots, right? You have to have a mindset of like bringing all this information that you're gathering from all these little blips and putting it together. So that's what I began doing. So I've been on that journey for a month now, and up until now, it's really blown my mind. So what's happening is that back in March, the U.S. Federal Reserve and the U.S. Treasury, they merged, and the head guy, the Board of Governor, right, the new Federal Reserve, what is it over here? Let me just jump over here real quick, Rob. The chairman, the new federal chairman of the Federal Reserve is Donald Trump. Now, if we understand and if we are educated on what the federal bank is that the federal bank was created in 1913 by the bankster J.P. DuPont, right? So he essentially brought in all the big banks and put them together because during those times there was a bunch of currencies, and people were running to the bank and demanding their money. So every time there was like a mass run to the bank, the economy would collapse, right? So what they did was created the central bank where they can begin to regulate the funds of the country. So there was like these 7 guys, the 7 board of governors that would represent all these banks, and then one person would be appointed by the government to pretty much oversee what's going on. But over the course of time, that's right. Over the course of time, what's happened
I wrote a
is
book
that
about it.
bankers have really, hijacked or taken over the person that's representing the people of the United States. So what's happened in short back in March is that the U.S. Federal Reserve and the U.S. Treasury, they merged into one corporation that's being administered or being managed by Larry Fink. Now, Larry Fink is the CEO of BlackRock. That's the biggest fund manager on the planet. They manage something like $27 trillion worth of assets around the world. So this guy is very powerful. And he's also a good friend of Donald Trump. That's why Donald Trump brought him in, because he trusts him to oversee what's going to happen, right? So what's happening now is that before the Treasury had to go to the Federal Reserve to ask them for money. When they were asking for money, they were essentially asking to borrow money. And when they're borrowing money from the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, which is also owned by the Rothschilds. So what's happening is that when the U.S. people go to the Federal Reserve to ask for money, all these banks, they're borrowing money from the IMF, and so in return you have to pay back interest. So what pretty much Donald Trump has done is, I say, he's X'd the middleman, and then now he can begin to print his own money. And essentially what this is a step forward to going back to the gold standard. You know what I mean? Because right now our entire economy is based on debt. Right, is how much debt you have is what runs your company. So what he's done, Donald Trump, is that he's quietly taken the central bank from underneath the Rothschilds, because the Rothschilds have no power to really come at Donald Trump, because what these banksters need is other countries' armies to administer their policy of their monetary central bank policy across the world. So up until now, the strong arm has been the United States military, and we've seen over the years, these government changes, regime changes, and the famous one we know of was back in 9/11. There was this agenda of taking down 7 countries because those 7 countries didn't have central banks. So the U.S. was the strong arm for that. So essentially, what Donald Trump has done is taken that power away from the Rothschilds, and now Donald Trump is in control of the U.S. Army instead of the Rothschilds or the banks. So this really sets a precedent forward for other G7 and G20 countries to follow suit and merge their treasuries in with their central bank. Like in Canada, we have the Central Bank of Canada, and then we have our own treasury. So if we take our treasury and then merge it with the Central Bank of Canada, then the treasury will be in control. Now, the weird things has happened over the course of like last 5-6 months, like before I get to that, what's happened is now if other G7 and G20 countries begin to follow suit of what Donald Trump has done, the central bank will initially essentially collapse because they'll have no power. They won't have the military might of all these other countries. And right now, there's no country that's mad enough or insane enough to attack the United States. So, and thus, that's removed the military arm from the Rothschilds. Sure, China and Russia and all these guys can tag team and try to come at the U.S., but U.S. is mighty, man. The U.S. has the strongest army on the planet. They might not have 4 million foot soldiers, but they got 350 million armed people, right? So good luck landing on American soil, right? Good luck with that. Right. So essentially what's happened is that no one's got the balls to come at the States. Even if they had, they would have come by now. So what Donald Trump has done is set the precedent for other countries to follow suit, to collapse the central bank system that's been in place since 1913, that's costed millions of lives. Hundreds of millions of lives has costed, and then go back to the gold standard. Because once we go back to the gold standard, we won't be borrowing money from the Rothschilds. We'll be borrowing money from ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We'll be borrowing money from ourselves, and you don't pay yourself interest. Or if you do give yourself interest, it's very, very, very small, right? And then not to mention, every 10, 12 years, and I've stated this before, just like mass extinctions of 35 million years, it's like clockwork, every 10, 12 years, we see the economy collapse. And what's happening is that these people create money out of thin air, and then they borrow this money out to people. People go out and they buy homes, and they buy businesses and land and etc., real stuff. And this money's been created out of thin air. And then every 10, 12 years, what these banksters do is they begin to pull money out of the system, and then they create these recessions and these economy collapses. And then what happens at that time is people can't afford to pay their mortgages, they can't pay their rents, their loans, and etc., whatever. And the bank comes in and they says, oh, thank you very much. This house belongs to us. This business belongs to us. This land belongs to us. So essentially they rob us every 10, 12 years after they loan us fake money. That's it for my end.
That's pretty cool. Leonard, any thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. I wrote a book about it. It's called How to Get Out of Debt, Surviving in the 21st Century.
I know you did. That's why I asked you.
And it explains everything that he was just talking about, except for the new part, what Trump did. It explains everything that he just talked about, and exactly, and including what he said about their scheme to get all your stuff, to get your material stuff. Then they turn around and sell that to someone else at a discount because it doesn't matter because they've driven the price up of the house or the business or whatever. So now when they sell it at a loss, they're still making a profit. I was in construction for 10 years, and a house that's worth like $500,000 actually costs about $75,000 to build. The actual retail price of that house is $75,000. But because of its location and nearby things, accoutrements that are nearby your house, that drives the price value of your house up. And if it's a low crime rate, it's even higher. So then this house that you build for $75,000, you can sell for $500,000. And that's the same thing. The scheme about flipping houses. You buy it low, and then you sell it high, and you make a profit, and you put a little teeny bit of money into it. So and I tell you how to get around all of that. And Omar's absolutely right. I agree with him. The European Union has their own banking commission, and the English government pulled out of the European Union because of America doing what it has to the cabal over here. And crashing their banking system, like Omar's talking about. That's why Britain went, well, if they are doing that, we can pull out, go back to our own central bank, and we can sell products to America and make more money than we would by selling products to the Europeans, because the entire population of Europe only adds up to about 100 million people. 386 million people in America. We consume far more because we have more money than anyone else. Everyone wants to deal with us. That's why the Chinese are about to kowtow to Donald Trump, because everyone needs our money. Okay? And that's the truth of it. And Canada reaps a harvest because they're right there. They have this brick wall that's called America. No, America will never let Canada get invaded.
No, Canada is U.S. U.S. is Canada. It's
that's a fact.
They're just our bastard stepbrother who won't admit he's part of the family.
We're either 12 extra states, or we have 52 extra provinces.
Exactly, right? Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
You guys have your own pet army to keep you safe. The Canadians have their own pet army to keep them safe. They sit up there on top of the world and they go, you guys can't touch us. You got to go through America to get to me.
We can take our entire army and stick it in the Maple Leaf Gardens and still have seats.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. The point is, you guys have it better up there because there's not so many people around. It's not like here where we're overcrowded everywhere.
Pretty much embedded with the United States military, and the U.S. military is embedded with the Canadian military. Like I said, we're one country, and we have this invisible border. For I don't know why.
Well, and the border is such a joke. I don't know what it is today, but normally you drive up there and there's a couple guys sitting at a border crossing and they look like Barney Fife, and they're like, "Hi, sir. Do you have anything to declare? No. Do you have any weapons? I'm loaded with guns and ammo. No. Do you have any fruit or anything that you're bringing across the border? Hell no. Okay,
Nope.
what are you going to Canada for? Just chilling, going up to Canada to say hi to friends. Okay, have a nice day. On the way back, it's the same way. There's some guy at the border. Only he's
What
an
it is.
American, and he's an American. Yeah, and he goes, "Where are you from? California." "Oh, what were you doing in Canada?" "Well, we were up there partying with the Canadians." "You bringing dope back across the border? Do I look like a doper?" "No." "All right, you got any guns?" "Of course, I'm an American." You didn't tell the Canadians that, did
That's
you?
true.
Hell no.
That's true. That's true. And
Do you have a gun? Yes, I have a gun. Is any of them? Are you packing their guns currently, and are they loaded? Absolutely. See,
Yeah.
when you come across the border back into here, I went into Idaho. It doesn't matter in Idaho whether you have a gun in your pocket or not.
Well,
They
it's
don't
a
have
lot
laws
different.
like in California where you can't have a gun hidden. They don't care. Right?
carry
Anyways.
permits, things like that.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
so it was cool. Though
Absolutely.
I went up there to Canada and partied with the Canadians during their Independence Day, then made it back to California, or made it back to the United States in Idaho to party with America during their Independence Day. So I had two Independence parties in less than, what is that, in a few days, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. You said that Britain pulled out away from the Rothschilds Bank, and there's a Facebook user that made the comment that Putin did away with Rothschilds,
Yeah,
and they're
He did.
years ago from Russia. So
Yeah, a lot of people think Putin is the cabal. He has never been in the cabal.
No.
The Russian government has never been in the cabal. They have always fought against the cabal.
Well,
that's why they
what
fought
the
against
whole,
alien
revolution
spaceships.
there was about
Think-
with the Tsar.
yeah.
Remember, during my webinar, I had mentioned that the Rothschilds had created the Soviet Union, right? So
Right,
when
originally.
That's
Yeah.
a
during
fact.
the time of Rasputin, when he was healing Tsar Nicholas's son because he had some sort of a blood clot issue in his brain, the Bolsheviks came in and pretty much took them to a house and to a basement and executed all of them. And at that time, that's really when the fight against the cabal really began, was back then. Because we've got to remember that the cabal began to embed themselves into the system after Albert Pike had written a letter to Giuseppe. He was a 33-degree Mason back in 1871, right? And then he outlined the 3 world wars that would take place in order
That's a
for the
fact.
New World Order to take
absolutely.
place, right? And if you guys want, you can just Google Albert Pike and you'll just get all this information that will come up, because he's connected to the Skull and Bones. He's connected to the Illuminati, to the
All of them.
Rockefellers, to the
All
Rothschilds.
of them.
Right? So yeah, this cabal, it goes back long ways, but this fight, actually I was wrong what I said earlier. I think what happened is that when Putin came in and he ousted Gorbachev after the wall came down, is when the fight against the cabal began back in 88 or 89, when Putin came in, because he's been in for like 25, 30 years or some
Yeah, he's
shit.
planning on staying as like
Yeah,
a
He's been there
dictator.
a long time.
They just
And he
granted him
just
till
made it so that he can be
2036.
president
Yeah.
for life.
Yep. So,
I
it's,
found that
it's good that you bring that up, because I want to. What I have to bring up right here is not as today potent as what Omar was talking about. My camera keeps turning off on me, guys. Sorry, I was moving my microphone around and it shook the camera, and the camera went, it does not compute, turns off.
What? That's all right.
So, but what I do want to bring up, I can either share my screen or just read it to you. You get to. These days, all the time, most people don't pay attention, first of all, to history. And history is important because what happens in history dictates what happens in the future. And if you pay attention to history and you keep history in your life, you're not prone to repeat history. Everything that they're doing now with the Black Lives Matter movement knocking over these statues, they're going to erase that part of history. And what's going to happen is this next generation is not going to know what happened. And either them or the generation after that is going to try and do what they did. Okay, and you're going to have an issue with that. So what I brought up was today, what I want to talk about is this day in history. People go through 364 and a quarter days every single year, and they never know what.
Before you go get too deep into that, I wanted to hear Rob's opinion on what I said.
I'm sorry. I forgot that we were supposed to all do that.
Good.
I apologize.
It's all good.
I was
so
just
before you run off,
I'm sorry, bro. I apologize, bro. Thank you for stopping me, Omar. Thank you for stopping.
I was going to let you go. I was going to let you go because I just like to listen. But
no, sorry about that, brother. Go ahead.
It's all good. It's all good. So here we go. Backing the U.S. dollar with gold, and make no mistake about it, is the best way forward. Like Omar was talking about, they have this cabal. I'm doing a very in-depth, detailed research on how basically 3 out of these 6 or 5 or 6 families run everything. And the way that they run everything is through money. Wars were fought over money between who backed who. You know, you had like you said, the Rothschilds were in Europe, financing World War I, World War II. Also, now the Rockefellers were in the Americas, and they came together and thought to themselves, "What can we do to put everybody under the thumb? What can we do?" So, what did they do? First, it was the League of Nations. Then it was the United Nations. Then what they did is it's basically called crony capitalism. And crony capitalism is where they take the dollar, they devalue the gold that's in that dollar. They set standards, which is interest rates of purchasing loans, things like that, tax. And what happens is when they devalue that dollar on a merit-based system of credit, which is, you know, basically the buying power of purchase and debt. So what they do is it's no longer backed by gold. It's like this Bitcoin is trying to do. You know, they're trying to use digital currency to back some figmented type of currency that's not really, it's either here nor there. It's all about what's perceived, which is, you know, it goes into a lot of like perception and things like that. But what basically what it comes down to is that the way that they control the everyday individual is by debt and inflation.
Yep.
When your dollar is valued at less, you work harder for that dollar. They want more out of you. They inflate the money more. Just like with this, I don't want to say it because we'll get kicked off of YouTube, but this predicament that we're in right now that we just went through for the last 3 months of lockdown. But, you know, what they did was...
that keyword.
Yeah.
Right.
We're still on right now, but
with when people, you know, they want to get a raise, and I keep telling people, you don't want to get a raise because as soon as you get that raise, everyone's just going to inflate the money. You're going to deflate the money and increase the taxes. You're going to end up getting your dollar's going to go the exact same distance that it went before. You're just going to get paid $14 an hour, but now a loaf of bread's going to be $7.
Right. Well, here's the thing: is that the economy is stimulated now because of money that's researching into it. But that resurging money actually devalued everybody's dollar tenfold because of borrowing trillions upon trillions. We went up our whole national GDP at 90% of the way in March.
Yeah.
After the first round of bailout, that was it, bro.
Yeah.
That was it. And now they're making more and more money. And who does that benefit? That benefits those 3 men who own everything. Because they're getting more and more free. They're taking more and more of your soul, more and more of your life. I know Omar's shaking his head because he's not a part of that. He knows who he is.
Not me, man. Okay,
right? I'll rephrase that. I'll rephrase that. The average person. The average person out there.
So here's my... Are you done, Rob? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So what I want to say is that, you know, Bitcoin is actually good, because Bitcoin has solid backing to it, just like the gold reserve has, right? The dollar. Behind the dollar is gold.
Yeah,
so you can walk into the bank and say,
Omar on that.
I've heard $20 worth of gold, and they'll give it to you. And the Bitcoin is the same thing. Whatever Bitcoin that you own, there's asset behind it that's backing that currency. Now, what you were saying with the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and, you know, these you know, the families that have been around since the 19th century, you know, you said that, you know, they're the ones that are controlling us. But the fact of the matter is that those families are also administering the policy of something higher than themselves. They're puppets themselves, and they're administrating and managing of what's to take place and within the pyramid structure. As I'd done when I said during my webinar that the power that's controlling these families, that's put them into power. Because remember, I talked about the bloodlines and talked about being crowned, and these, I don't want to get into it, but anyways, it goes back to that, right? So these people that are administering this policy, they're acquiescing to something that's higher than they are. Hence, that's why they're involved in the satanic rituals and the satanic and Luciferian worship that they're involved in, because that's ultimately is the one that's at top of the pyramid that has said that, like you just said, they want to keep us in debt. They want to keep us working. They want to make us more from us, right? And then that's exactly the point of these people, of these things that are controlling us, that when we are in that state of mind, we vibrate at a much lower distortion. And when we vibrate at a lower distortion, then our energy can be fed off of, because we are food to these things. We're not food to the Rothschilds. We're not food to the Rockefellers, but we're food to the ones that they are observing.
They're feeding us. They're feeding us to the monster, pretty much. Of course,
this is the bizarre, and it's very difficult for people to grasp a hold on this. And we have to remember that money, the way we know it today, hasn't evolved. Okay, the money that we know today was introduced to us in the form that it is back in the Sumerian days, right? They showed up, they built castles, and they built these compounds. And from inside, they told people, bring us your precious metals and bring us the things that are valuable, and we'll give you these little mud bricks that says that you own it. And then if you want it, we'll give this stuff back to you. But they never do. They come up with an excuse and this reason why not to, and this reason why not to. So this money thing that we're dealing with was introduced to us in its full conception. People are under this false idea that money has evolved from coins and blah blah blah, right? That's the mainstream thinking.
It evolved from a promise. It evolved from a promise.
Yeah, the money that you hold in your hand, like the dollar bill or my dollar bill or whatever, if you look on the back of it, it clearly says that it is an IOU. But you can make money out of thin air. And if you guys want, there's a video by Michael Tallinger that explains to you exactly how you can make money out of thin air, as banks do, and pay off your debts that you have, like to the banks, right? He has a detailed video on this, and I'll share a link on YouTube and Facebook after this video is over, and I'll find that and I'll post it for you guys. And if you guys want, I have the very same thing on my page, Observing Humanity Outside of the Cube, and I have images, and I have that video shared, so you can learn how to create this money as how banks do. So if they can create money out of thin air, as I was saying earlier, if they can create money out of thin air, we can as well, right? So to again do a full round circle, Rob,
or you could go to and buy this book on Amazon or get it on Kindle for $6 or $7, and it tells you how to do the same thing.
Be like Fleetwood Mac. Break the chain. Break the chain like Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, so this is a good thing, guys. Up until now, what I've said, Donald Trump is brilliant. Okay, he really is, because with one hand, he's tweeting, right? He's tweeting with this hand. He's got the media focus. Oh, what's Donald Trump going to tweet? What's he going to tweet? What's he going to tweet? So they're focused on what he's going to do with this hand. And then with the other hand, he's creating policy and changing policy for the betterment of the American people, just like he ousted the fucking central bank. He took control of the central bank. So that means now is that the Treasury doesn't have to go to the central bank and ask them to borrow money. They can go to their gross domestic product and print money from that, and then saying, okay, well, we have this GDP of this X many of percents. We have this many trillions of dollars that backs this economy. So we're going to print ourselves some money because we need to fund this program, or we need to build this bridge, or we need to fix this road. And essentially, so you're taking out the middle guy, the Rothschilds. So what Donald Trump has done, these people have been, presidents have been trying to do that shit for fucking decades.
Never got it done. Never got it done.
Yesterday, he kicked out the pharmaceutical mafia by lowering all the pharmaceutical prices. Insulin, fucking EpiPens. If you want your, medicine from Canada because it's cheaper, you can do that now. Up until now, presidents have talked and talked and talked and talked, and nobody's fucking delivered. Up until now, tweet with this hand, change policy with this.
And that's the crazy part is
fake news. Yeah, man.
People love to say that
People should
this man
appreciate
is
Donald
not
Trump.
for the people. I don't care
Donald
if you
Trump
like
is a
him.
wanderer.
I don't care if he's brash. I don't care what your thoughts are of the man in particular. He
What
has
he's
done
doing is
more
profound.
for every single type, creed, color, race, religion, all of it. He's done
His
for
focus is-
every single person on in this country. And you know
Yeah,
what?
Rob.
His policies are manifesting worldwide. He's
That's
putting
right.
light on things like the Uyghurs. Nobody
Yep.
knew about that. Nobody knew about that. Now
4
they're
years
coming
ago,
out.
people would have. 4 years ago, people were believing the media on everything that they said. Donald Trump came in, started calling them fake news, and now the people are awoken to that. And when the media talks, people are listening with their antennas and they're questioning what the media is saying.
Far more than they were before, and it's about time.
So he's helped people wake up.
And that's
Okay.
the best part. That's all we
Yeah.
can ask for, really.
Like
and
I said,
like you said,
Donald Trump is a wanderer, man. He's a fucking light worker, and people are
He's
just
definitely
making
in service to others and not in service
Oh
to
yeah,
self.
man!
fact.
Like, this whole
That's a
pandemic,
fact.
this whole thing that's taken place, you know, it's to bring him down because what he's doing is he's fighting the cabal.
right.
Right,
But
he's
Absolutely.
taking down the cabal, and they're doing
Yep.
everything: impeachments, Russian
And-
collusions, right, riots, and all this fucking garbage that we're going through. I wish he was our
that's why
prime minister.
that's why if you're a cuck on the left, you go, I have no argument. You're a racist. You're a
Racist.
racist.
Yeah,
Get the fuck
That's a
out of
cop-out
here.
Card.
Fuck
It's
that.
a cop-out
Fuck
card.
that.
Get the fuck
Racist.
out of here with
Bro,
your
I grew up
racism.
around every different color ever because I support
Yep.
one man. And the thing about the liberal is that they want equality for everybody, so they say, but they're so quick to stereotype you into a group before you walk out the door in the morning. And it's it's so hypocritical. It's crazy.
Well,
It's so
again, that's a
hypocritical.
George Soros thing that's coming in, and George Soros is part of the cabal. And George Soros and Bill Gates and the Clintons, they got all their like dirty little paws inside this monetary system that America's fucking going through, and they don't want him doing what he's doing. So they're creating all this, like, you know, like all these race
Anything they
equality.
can do to
Okay,
wrench
sure.
power back from him. They have to,
Yeah,
they
that's a
have to
fact.
try to destroy
That's a
him
fact.
completely. Otherwise, people are going to vote for him, and their power is going to go away. But unfortunately, they don't realize that he's going to win the election, and their power is going to go away, and they're going to go to jail.
Let me tell you something. The silent majority in this election, you
Yep.
thought it was big in the last one.
right.
I guarantee, and this is coming
Guarantee.
from the host of this show, I will guarantee they will be heard and it will be deafening.
I
on
haven't
this
voted
round.
in an election since
Deafening.
since Ronald Reagan's second election when I was 18 years old. I will be voting this time. Okay. There's people
made
like
a
me.
Register to go.
Yeah, there's people like me who are, and then like he said, like Rob said, the silent majority. Okay, let me move off of this
Yes.
onto
So
a lighter subject
Let's go
now,
to the next one.
because
Let's
we
go to
do
the next
have.
one.
I want to get on to that other one we talked about,
Let me
Rob,
just,
that you and I were talking about as well. But this one is going to be
Let me
completely
just,
light and different than all this politics. Okay.
Let me just
So-
quickly say, you know, it was a lot of fun. I know it's never going to happen, but yesterday I made a post and I said, let's not worry about 2020. How about Trump for 2024?
Oh,
did it.
God.
Putin
Oh,
did it.
Man.
Well, let me
How
wait.
about the Americans?
Talk about stir it. This is
Hold on,
Omar.
guys. Now,
He's on the
wait.
computer like this. Yeah,
but wait.
let me get that.
Hold on, but wait. There is a possibility.
No,
And the
don't
reason
even
for
say
that
it.
is, wait, no, listen. Donald Trump Jr. is going to run for president. And if he
Oh,
doesn't
well.
do it directly after his dad, he'll do it the next time. And mark my words, it'll be Gavin Newsom, the mayor, the governor of California, and he'll be
You mean the
running
Nazi?
against the
Nazi?
Nazi. He'll be running against Donald Trump Jr. for president in probably 2028. You watch.
That
Okay,
was sick.
so
Let's move on. Let's
move on. Okay,
Yeah.
so For me, getting back to what I was going to do, this is completely off. This is not politics, but it is in some sense.
Mine isn't either. So go ahead.
Because
We hit the
history.
politics.
Okay, because
We
it's
hit the
history.
politics.
Okay, we go through our lives every single day, and people rarely. I have my camera off, guys, because every time I turn it on, my camera's tripping and it turns itself off. People rarely look at what goes on in the past. They're trying to erase history, right? Knocking down all the statues and erasing history. I thought it would be cool, since we're doing this today, to look at today in history, right?
Awesome.
So let's take a
Love
gander at events that had happened on this date throughout history, right? Back in 306, Constantine is proclaimed Roman emperor by his troops on this date in the year 306. Right? Isn't that cool?
That's awesome.
And
I like
there's
Rome.
more, right? Check this out. There's all kinds of craziness. All kinds of stuff happen, right?
6, 7, 8, 9. So
what's that?
There's that 369.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah. Well, it gets well, wait until you hear these numbers, right? In
Awesome.
864, right? The Edict of Charles the Bald orders the defense measures against the Vikings. That was back when the Vikings invaded and took over most of England, right? So then we have in 1139, we have Count Alfonso I of Portugal was proclaimed king. All of this happened on this exact same date, only in history in different places. Okay, let's see. Here's some more stuff here. Here's one of interest. This is wait, hold on. Let me go to this one. It's more fun, I think. Some of these are kind of like you're like, okay, whatever. That's just okay, nothing really big. But some of them are really big things that people know the names, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Here's whoops. Wait a minute. Now my mouse is tripping and my camera's jumping up and down. I apologize. Okay. Royal coronation in 1547. Henry II of France is crowned on July 25th.
Yep.
Right? Isn't that crazy?
Okay.
In 1547. Let's see what else we have here. Some juicy things here. Let's see. Here we go. So here's another king. France's Protestant king Henry IV converts to Roman Catholic faith.
Huge. That's
July
huge.
25th, 1593. He became a Christian, right? A Roman Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that insane?
That's
right?
huge. That's
That
huge.
is, right? So let's see what else here. Let's see, what do we have here? I won't do all of them, but here's Austrian Emperor Leopold I expels 4,000 Jews from Vienna, 1670,
Wow.
on July
Wow.
25th. Right?
Today
Isn't
is-
that crazy? Right?
Today
And
is a religious day for uplifting and
Right.
persecution. Like
Here-
that's just, the
listen to this
synchronicity
one.
is crazy.
Yeah. Listen to this one. 1722. The 3-year war begins along the border of Maine and Massachusetts.
Oh boy.
Oh, really?
Right?
That's interesting.
That's pretty cool.
1729. North Carolina becomes a royal colony.
Oh, okay.
Right?
All right. Right.
Here's another one. 1745. Jacobite Rising. Bonnie Prince Charlie lands on Erickson bridges. Right? This is he ends up being, that ends up being Prince Charles, or Charlie the King, who becomes, right? Prince Charles is named after. Okay.
Right.
Right? Okay, so
Vlad
here
the
now,
Impaler.
right?
Vlad the
So
Impaler is connected to that as well.
right? So
Right,
listen to this.
the,
Do you guys, if you know anything about military history, you know about British Admiral Lord Nelson. And if you don't, I'll explain a little bit right here. On this day, 1797, Horatio Nelson loses more than 300 men and his right arm
To the
during
Spanish,
the failed
right?
conquest of the attempt of Tenerife, Spain. So Lord Nelson, who was famed to have lost his arm, ended up becoming knighted and one of the biggest military historians, biggest figures in British history, and never lost anything, lost his battle really horribly and lost his right arm on this day.
Wow.
That was a good fight.
Wow.
That was, right? Right?
That was a hell of a
now-
fight. He
now
lost
check
his
this
arm.
out.
Yeah.
Now, victory in battle. On this day, July 25th in 1799, French-Egyptian forces under Napoleon Bonaparte beat the Turks at the Battle of Aboukir.
Okay.
Isn't
All
that
right.
crazy? Let's see what else we have here. Here's some more.
Here's an interesting fact.
Go ahead.
My best homie, known him since I was 12 years old. He is a direct descendant of Napoleon.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's pretty amazing to go back and actually like 23andMe and lineage yourself all the way back to Napoleon. You know?
Right?
Yeah,
Wouldn't that be
he
crazy?
did. What was it? I think it was his auntie back in the 90s. She did a family tree. And then when she was doing that, it took them back to Napoleon, and a little bit earlier than Napoleon. But of course, Napoleon's a big name, right? So they're the just direct descendants of him, right? I believe they're like related to one of his sons, right? And then from there, it just kind of progressed forward. And I was like, "Holy fuck, you guys made it this far!"
That's crazy. Okay, let me do a few more, guys. Let me do a few more here. So here we have an event of interest in 1814 on July 25th. English engineer George Stephenson introduced the first steam locomotive, a traveling engine designed for hauling coal on the Killingsworth wagonway named Blücher.
Manifest destiny, baby.
Right.
Build them
okay, check this
all
out.
the way out west.
Royal coronation in 1812, July 25th, 1822. General Augustine de Ittenbride was crowned Augustine I, the first emperor of Mexico, on this day in history.
Really?
Yep.
Wow, really?
Check this out.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
I've heard that name, Den Ettenbride.
Yep.
I've heard that before. These are really some of these facts I know and some I don't, but this is really I love history.
Scotland?
Me too.
Edinburgh,
That's why I'm bringing this up, because some of this stuff's really cool. Here's another one. In 1866, Ulysses S. Grant was named the first general of the Army on this day. In 1866.
Right.
And do you know that? And do you know? Here's a little tidbit about Grant that a lot of people don't know. His name is USS Grant, by the way. But his middle name is not. Well, everybody thinks it's like Sherman or Samuel, or it's not. It's George. His name was It was Ulysses George Grant, and there was a mix-up when he joined the Army, and somebody wrote an S there, and he went to the people and said, "This is wrong. It's not an S. It's supposed to be a G." And the guy looked at it, and he says, "Well, it's written as an S. That's who you are." And
clerical error.
What's that?
Clerical error.
Right.
Got to watch out for the clerical error.
And they never changed it. So from that day forward, he was Ulysses S. Grant, and now he's down in history as that, and it was not his name.
Wow. Right? I didn't know that. That's pretty freaking cool.
You know how I found that out? They just did a special on Grant. They just did a 3-day miniseries on him. About 3 months ago, and I watched it, and it was badass. Okay, so let's see.
Sure.
Here's
Here's
another one right here. Here's one that 1902, 3 years after winning. This is a boxing title. Okay, 1902, 3 years after winning the title from English boxer Bob Fitzsimmons, American champion James J. Jeffries repeats the dose with an 8th round knockout in San Francisco for the heavyweight crown. So some of them are just like, okay, whatever, bro, right? Let's see. This one here is pretty good though. Let's see. This is, well, maybe not. That one's okay.
Here, I've got the Summer of Sound before you go forward.
Go ahead.
Who doesn't like this sound? Ready?
Right.
Yep. Oh.
Okay, so here goes, guys. This plays right along. I'll do this one for last.
That was a seltzer.
Right? Yeah, I'll do this one for last, just because it kind of pertains to us, because we're doing a podcast. Gotcha. In 1933, first Dutch live radio concert was done by Duke Ellington. Today, on this day in 1933.
What better way to pay props? What better way to pay props to those people?
Omar, Duke Ellington is a jazz musician and composer. Famous American jazz musician and composer, and he broadcasted live the first Dutch live radio concert on this day in 1933.
Duke Ellington?
Yep. Duke Ellington.
I gotta look that up. I fucking love jazz, and I'm
Look him up,
surprised I
bro.
don't know.
You'll trip.
I've never heard that. I'm gonna message myself and tell myself to.
So it's fitting we're
Download.
doing this today. Then this is fitting. We're paying homage to the ancestors right now.
Right?
To the
that
radio
kind of was my
god,
whole.
but
That was kind of my whole motif about looking
we
up
are
events in
paying
history
homage.
on this day. Was none of this that we have here
Would be possible.
would be here today if it wasn't for these events that these men did. 1941, FDR bans selling benzene/gasoline to the Japanese.
Oh wow, that's a big move too. Because I
That
mean,
was
think about
back
it.
then.
Think about it now.
1943, on this
Think
day
about
in
it now.
1943, Benito
Rockefellers must
Mussolini.
have took a good hit on that.
On this day, July 25th, 1943, Benito Mussolini dismissed as Italian premier and arrested on the authority of King Victor Emmanuel III.
Yeah.
Oh, right
Yep.
on.
Yep.
That's a positive moment in history.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't think
like
that
that.
was it for him. No way. I don't think that was it for him though. I think that he
No.
was released by Hitler and then they stoned him in public after all said and done.
Aren't
Right.
you
He went-
Italian?
Yeah.
Bob? You're
Yeah.
Italian. Right?
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, wait, now getting back to the cabal.
Oh.
On
all
this
right.
day,
Ooh.
July 25th,
My favorite
1961. On 1961, on this day, in a speech, John F. Kennedy
Yeah.
emphasized that any attack on Berlin is an attack on NATO.
That's a fact.
Went live
That's a
on
fact.
television and said that. Any attack on Berlin, and he did that today.
He said, "You keep fucking with my boys, I'm gonna have your ass." That's about
That's
as
right.
far as it goes.
And how
Right?
sad that it turns out that Canada and the U.S. ended up invading Berlin at the end, anyways.
Yeah.
That's true. That's very
Yep.
true.
Right?
Was it
So
Germany has done some
what did
terrible
that tell
things, but they've also had it very rough in many occasions too. They always seem to
Well,
be
you know
on
what?
the ass end of
grew
everything,
up-
whether it be by their own people or by other governments. They always seem.
I
to
grew
be.
up next to Germany. I grew up in Copenhagen up until I was 10 years old, and I've got no beefs with Germany. And
Yeah.
I've looked into their history, and what I've discovered is extremely alarming because everything that took place
Ooh.
leading up to World War II and World War I was, again, all connected to the cabal and to
Of
the
course.
Rothschilds.
Of
Right?
course.
It goes back to that, right? Because
Okay, now wait. One last thing, and then we can get back to politics. This is for fans.
no, I don't want to go
myself.
there.
No, I'm not doing
This is-
politics. I'm doing
okay,
space
this is
and
for the
aliens,
fans.
baby.
This is for the fans like me. On
Like
this
what?
day in 1983, Metallica's debut album "Kill 'Em All" was released.
Yeah, baby.
Right?
Yeah, fun fact. That album was actually called Metal Up Your Ass.
Yep, I used to have the T-shirt
was.
that had the cover, and it was a
It was.
toilet. It was a toilet
Toilet.
with a hand coming
Yeah.
out of it with a knife, metal up
With
your
a
ass, but they
dagger,
wouldn't
yeah,
let him
yeah.
do it. So Rob Halford or James Hetfield got so pissed off that he said, "Then we'll fucking call it Kill 'Em All."
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
Yep.
yeah. I love that album.
I love
Just like
other
Celeste-
albums,
just-
bro. I have
just like
every
Celeste.
single Metallica album.
Just like Celeste, I am also Italian and German. Hence the last name Yoxheimer.
Yeah,
Something kind of
exactly, right.
crazy.
Right.
That's why I really streamlined my name when I got the podcast to just Yox because it was
Right.
just too much to handle for anybody's mouth. I'm just
Right.
telling you that right
Yoxheimer.
now.
Is that what it is?
Well, Nope.
Yoxheimer?
Yoxheimer.
Yoxheimer, yeah.
Oh,
Yoxheimer.
Yoxheimer.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yoxheimer.
You
Yeah,
could
yeah,
say
okay.
it Yoxheimer.
You speak German?
I have
No.
some German. I
No.
speak some German. I'm learning. I don't
I
know
can count.
everything. You know, here's a funny story. Here's a funny story about that. Let me tell you this real quick. I had a dog, and his name was Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Thank you.
Oh, that's a very long
And
ass
I
name.
taught him the police commands, right? Because I didn't want people to be able to tell the dog to sit. I didn't teach him to be a police dog or any attack dog, but I only spoke German to him, and I taught those words. My mother cut the hair of a guy who taught the police dogs, and they use now they use Dutch and they use German. Dutch is like English light; it's halfway between German and English, literally. And so he so for a dog to sit in German, it's Platz. Platz, that means down, sit. And it doesn't mean sit, it means down. And-
Sounds like plop. Like
yeah,
take a
Platz,
dump.
like plop yourself
Plop.
to the ground. Okay, so my wife I taught her those commands, and so she knew he only speaks German. He doesn't understand a lick of English. You can try everything you want to him in English. In fact, I taught him that if somebody said sit, that he needed to growl at them. Sit, good boy. Right? So just because I thought it was funny.
Cool. Yeah.
So come forward in time, and my wife was with her parents in a park, and these people are walking up with this really big dog. And the dog seems kind of excitable, and the woman says, "Oh, he's a retired police dog." And she's like, "Oh, wow." And then she let the dog go. Well, he comes running at them. And her parents at the time were in their 70s and I think are in their 80s, right? So she was worried the dog was going to knock him over and break something. And she couldn't, she was like, "Oh my God, how do I get this dog to stop? Wait, he's a retired police dog." So she yells the word, "Platz!" And the dog goes, boom, sits straight down and looks at her. Everybody in the whole place froze. Even the person who owned the dog, her parents, they look at her and they go, "What did you just say?" And she says, that's the German commands. I had a 50-50 shot that this police dog understood German. And the only word I could remember that Leonard taught me was Platz. And I hoped that it worked, that I said it, and he knows German, and he sat down. They were all dumbfounded.
That's exceptional. That's exceptional. All right, guys. It is my turn.
Yep, there you go.
Here we go. Now, I'm gonna do a little prefacing and a quick disclaimer. I'm gonna tell everybody, if your whole family is not in the room right now, you should get them. I have breaking news, the likes of which humanity will never be able to shut it down or take it back. Never, 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 never.
Put yourself on full screen, Rob.
No,
Yeah.
you want me to do full screen? We're going to go full
go
screen.
to your full screen. There you go.
Yeah,
we got this. Get everybody you know, grab them to the computer right now. I will give you 30 seconds while I talk my face off, because I have something of the outer space nature that, like I said, they can't take it back now. Cat's out of the bag, okay? That's as far as I'm going. You've got 30 seconds. I can't even wait 30 seconds. I really can't. Yeah, I can't even do it. All right. We're going to get into
My family's out, so I can't call it. Gilbert!
Get the cat. Get the cat. Get your mom. Anybody who ever said to you that they don't exist, now is the time to pull them in the room, because I have not physical proof, but editorial proof. Okay, let's get into it.
Gilbert.
2 days ago, the New York Times, the Toilet Paper Times, yes, the Toilet Paper Times, thank you, Sean Hannity, the New York Times laid out an article, and I give them credit for this. I'm putting them here. We've waited an hour to hear the breaking news.
Yep.
This is a editorial report, factual report by Ralph Blumenthal and Leslie Kean. The name of the article is "No Longer in the Shadows. Pentagon's UFO unit will make some public findings." That's not make. Nice. They have made public findings. Public findings. As of that day, probably I want to say it was about 6 months ago they made findings that they actually brought to light. And I'm going to tell you how. It's going to be a little long-winded. I'm going to be reading a lot. I'm going to be looking down. Just pay attention. For over a decade, the program tucked inside of the Office of the Navy Intelligence was discussed mysterious events and classified briefings. That is the preface of what we're talking about here. So bear that in mind. Okay? So within 180 days, through the Intelligence Authorization Act, fronted by Marco Rubio, they have 180 days to bring this information to light. And what that means is, a gentleman by the name of Harry Reid, I think I might have messed those pages up. Hang on. The findings. I'm just going to make sure I give it to you right. I want to make sure I give it to you right. Okay. So basically what's happening is they have a gentleman by the name of Harry Reid hopes this program, this Intelligence Act is a program, the task force inside of the Naval Office will He hopes the program will show evidence of vehicles from other worlds and focus on whether basically these otherworldly craft have the potential to be harmful to the United States, to the world, whatever it may be. But like I said, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back a little bit to explain what's going on. Marco Rubio expressed concern about these reports of unidentified aircraft in the American military installations all over the world. There have been sightings all over the world, all over the military bases. People have been coming forward, soldiers, pilots, saying, what is that in the sky? What is it? They don't know. They're basically trying to tell you that majority of it is terrestrial. One of the things that they're really, really worried about is their concerns, and I'm going to get to that too, is they express concerns that China and Russia have some sort of advanced aerodynamic or aerospace type of technology that was able to make them conduct this type of basically this type of observation of our different bases, but that they believe is not the case. One thing I have to say is that these crafts are out there, and I'm almost positive that, and I mean positive, that they have re-engineered these specific types of craft. One incident that I can think of off the top of my head is in the 1980s. They were in Iran. I believe it was Russian soldiers in Iran, and they saw different planes flying from Iranian hangars that looked everything like a UFO and nothing like an F-16. So, there's more to this, and I'm going to keep going, so just bear with me. These technological leaps, they say that the Chinese and the Russians don't have that ability. So this article finishes, and it's as I'm reading through the article, it's basically going over how this task force is going to be funded, how they're going to put all this stuff into action. And then you get to the very end of that article, and you go into another article that's sort of like a firsthand account of a gentleman or people that are in this task force. So without declassifying information, they go further, and it's pretty crazy, because here we're going to get to this last page. We're going to get to the real news about it. So this gentleman's name is Luis Elizondo, a former military intelligence officer who resigned 10 years in the program. He resigned in 2017. He confirmed that the new task force evolved from an advanced aerospace program. He also said it no longer has to hide in the shadows, which is where the article title came from, and it will have new transparency. Okay. Elizondo also said, still as the security clearance afforded him for being in this group, he could only say so much. He said scientists and himself are convinced that objects of undetermined origin have crashed on Earth with materials that were retrieved for study. Now, this is being a gentleman who was literally in the crosshairs of those sightings, of those crashes, and was probably the guy who went to retrieve the material himself. Okay? So, with that being said, they go further. Okay? It says, for more than a decade, the Pentagon has been conducting classified briefings for congressional committees, aerospace executives, and other government officials, according to the interviews with the program participants of this unclassified briefing of documents. So let's look at what I just said. These people are meeting. Okay. Now, if you have government officials, okay, I get that. There's possible military threat. They're conjecting. They're basically, purporting some type of scenario that would come from outer space. But when you have the head of aerospace technology companies in the private sector, you have something that you need re-engineered. There is no other reason, or to mass produce it further. Okay. And I have another relating article that goes with this. And what that article is, and I know everybody's going to say, I saw this article and I'm putting pieces together now. Okay. I saw this article about 4 months ago when everything bad started coming from the Wuhan. Okay. This is actually something good that came from Wuhan. something very good, not the laboratory, but a specific gentleman in Wuhan, China. Okay. So we've gone over it. That is the disclosure in the sense that they are literally telling us that they're having classified briefings of, you heard the guy that he knows that there is stuff that fell to Earth. Now they're having briefings of the classified nature to tell the people in charge, hey, this is happening. We've got this material. What are we doing? And you notice how the article keeps focusing on material. Material can be anything from computer components to a specific type of metal. Could be a biological material. There's so many different things that they can categorize material into. And they can do that under the guise of hiding from you what it really is. So Wuhan is a place where, and China is a place where there is a ton. When I mean a ton, there is a ton of sightings yearly. As I go into one of my big presentations that's called the Golden Age of Disclosure, I'm going to go specifically into China and how much China has they have such authoritarian views on things like UFOs or paranormal activity. And for some reason, the Chinese let this roll. They're putting Muslim Chinese people in camps because of what they think and because they want to use them as slaves. But the paranormal community is well in China, if that makes any sense. To me, it does, in the sense that they have their priorities completely fucked up. But this is the type of stuff that they, if you say you see a ghost in China, they literally tell you to get out of town. You're going to go live in the hills because you're not of sane mind and you will not be part of their society anymore. They will literally ostracize you. So in Wuhan, there was a scientist who says he built a jet engine that turns electricity directly into thrust. We don't have that. Now, this past autumn, a professor from the Wuhan University, not the Wuhan lab, Wuhan University, okay, put together a prototype that sounds just too good to be true. His collaborators were Den Yi and Jun Li. The engine uses fossil fuel direct electricity to make thrust. The engine also uses microwaves to energize compressed air into plasma and a shooting state, which is like a jet. But the electricity, turning electricity into jet engine propulsion is something that they've been talking about for a long time. Now that they've manifested this specific type of prototype, it can be used for things that are, spaceships, thrust, anti-gravity. They can manipulate magnetic fields, things like that. This could help all types of different spots in our civilization, but it's also a major threat to the fossil fuel company. So we don't know how far it's really going to go. Anytime you oppose a fossil fuel company, which is why when Joe Biden came out and said he was going to change all of our energy in this country, I saw that as something that was going to actually hinder him, because he talks about making millions of jobs while on his first day eliminating 587,000 jobs in the fossil fuel industry. So opposing the fossil fuel industry is not the best way to go when you're running for a presidential office, especially since a lot of the families that we were just talking about own the fossil fuels, own the electrical companies, and own the banks that are funding your are funding your presidential campaign. But that is my disclosure. So this was in the New York Times. I know the mainstream media is a complete joke. It's a complete lie. But this is really going forward and saying things that are completely out of the realm of what's normally in mainstream media. I told you in another video back in the day that they were pushing for this type of intelligence act. We went over it in another video. So I want to know what you guys think. Leo, you want to go first on this one? I want to hear what you think about that.
Sure. And well, one, I know what we have, and I could tell you, and you probably wouldn't believe it, right? So, all this stuff that they're starting to leak out is information that they're going to leak out that is stuff that's like from 1990 or something like that. It's not going to be anything that's now. That'll come out eventually. But, I know that this planet has had space travel since 1932.
Of course.
And they've had a base on the moon since 1938. Okay, I know that to be a fact. I've seen actual UFOs. I was trying to find a picture that was floating around that we talked about off camera, and I can't find it now, so I think Facebook took it down, that I had gotten from somebody who was French. And I had to translate it into English because my French isn't as good to read the whole thing. But there was actual photo.
Turn your camera on, Leo, so we can see you.
Well, it keeps going off. So I'll turn it on, but every time I move the wrong way, it goes off. If I blow on
Don't move the wrong way.
Right?
Don't move the wrong
I
way.
love seeing your white beard.
So yeah, it's got to be the white beard. Yeah.
Celeste hit that one on the head, and she said, "Didn't the Chinese president's wife say she was abducted?" Yes, she did, which is why it is actually acceptable in the Chinese culture, even amongst the communist Chinese, that they are. She's an advocate, which is one of the reasons why they actually let that be heard, and they have a big group. I'll go over it in another video. I don't remember off the top of my head, but they have a giant group of people. And they meet every year. They were actually going to meet in 2020 in March, but with the coronavirus and everything happening, they didn't. And this is another task force that's pushing the United Nations for disclosure. So, thank you, Celeste. That's a great comment. Go ahead.
36 years from now, Rob.
What?
2020 is still 36 years from now, because as I recall, back in March, we time traveled to 1984.
Oh, we're on a different timeline now. I forgot. That's right. Shit. All right. Who's doing the 2 minutes of hate? Who's doing it? Who's doing 2 minutes of hate?
Right.
I'm not leading it this time. The last time you guys threw bottles at my head, okay? It's like being in the streets of New York City, all right? I don't want to do it.
Yeah. So, but there was an article today that was floating around. It didn't take. I guess it didn't last very long because I can't find out hide nor hair of it. I looked at it and I started reading it in French, and then realized I needed to translate it, and I did. And I was reading it, and they actually had a photograph of a what you would think is a UFO, and it's not. It's just an aircraft that I can't find it. Otherwise, I would. I didn't copy it. I didn't keep it. Yeah. When I went back to look for it, it disappeared. Now I can't find it. I was trying to find it because I wanted to do just that, and it's gone off of the feeds now. It was just shared by somebody that I know, and it's either taken down or deleted because I can't find it now.
It's probably gone because they suppressed this so far back into the New York
Times. What was the
headline? Hang on 1 second. I got it right here. You hold your pretty little head real quick. No longer in the shadows, the Pentagon's UFOs unit will make some public findings. That was the headline. I don't have it up. I can find it. Give me a second. I will find it for you. Keep talking. Go ahead.
I'm still trying to look for it too. But it was a photo, and you could clearly see in the photo it was actually pretty big. It was very large because they had two tanks sitting in front of it. Okay, and the tanks were dwarfed in the size of this thing. All right. So, for instance, especially like an A1 Abrams, they're pretty huge, right? Those things are pretty big. It's a big tank. That tank was probably, it probably looked like it was 4 stories high compared to that tank, or maybe more. But you could see the windows where the cockpit was, and you could see that they had intake manifolds for their engine. So it wasn't a space. It could be a spacecraft, because if they're using, depends on the engine that they're using. If they're using an ion drive, they would still need to collect particles, so they would have an intake manifold. But if they're using one of the star drives that they have now, they wouldn't need that. And that's all theoretical. And if you go and listen to one of my shows, I don't remember which one it was, but it was about a year ago. I actually had, and I still have it somewhere. I have to find it. I actually had a flight manual that was leaked to me by the CIA. And I shared a couple of pages with you guys on air, and it was talking about the theoretical, quote unquote, I don't know if I'm on camera, theoretical, quote unquote, engines that didn't really exist, but we know that they did because of people that were whistleblowers talked about the evolution of the different engines that they used for star drives, and that was one of them. So you can see that.
The electrical one for thrust that I was just talking about? Is that what you mean?
That's one of them. Yes, there's many. They have what they call the electrical one is, and they put coils on the outside of the ship, and they charge those, and that creates the anti-gravity lift. the ones that the Vimanas use. That's the current one that they use on this planet, and that's the one that they take pictures of. And when you see the pictures that they take, guys are starting to realize that the infrared should, or the heat signature should be reversed, and that the ship itself is haloed by a cold space. That is the one that they use the air generator, and it's actually that's what the one where they use the mercury, and they spin the mercury, or they use water and spin the water, and then it spins turbines, and the turbines blow, and it creates a vortex that goes around the actual ship, and that creates the anti-gravitational uplift. That's, if you look at the design from the Vimanas, our people just reverse engineered that and used that as a model. So when you see like those ones that the military use, I have those all over Ancient Aliens Worldwide, the site. If you go there, there's pictures there. I've made videos with those pictures in it. Those are the ones the videos that they just released not too long ago. And yeah, there's one of the triangle ones sitting on the deck of a aircraft carrier, and I'm not sure which aircraft carrier that one is. Nimitz, I think. No, that one might be. It's 78. What's 78? All you military guys out there, you Navy guys, tell me which aircraft carrier is 78. If anybody's in the crowd and they were in the Navy, tell me what 78 is. It's either the Nimitz or the it could be the Ronald Reagan. No, that would be a higher number. It's an old one. So if it's 78, it's got to be Nimitz, the Arizona, one of the older ones. But yeah, see that black triangle that you have there, Rob, on the screen? I actually have that picture that actually has the patent for that. The patent that the American government filled out and signed.
Mediterranean Sea U.S. aircraft carrier. That's what it's called.
What's that?
This is from 2018. Mediterranean Sea U.S. aircraft carrier leaked a video from U.S. pilot reveals strange triangle-shaped UFO.
Right, but I was trying to. The designation of the aircraft carrier is 78. Do you see it there on the stack? That's the number of the aircraft carrier. That coincides with the name of the aircraft carrier, and I can't think what it is.
Let me see if I can find that.
Google it, right? Let's see if we can figure it out.
It's all right. Regardless. So, I mean, it's pretty crazy that you know.
That is the Gerald Ford, gentlemen. That is the USS Gerald Ford. CVN 78 is the USS Gerald Ford.
I think it's pretty crazy that they're coming out with jet engines that were relatively close to what they might be using on these specific, spaceships that they're talking about. And
a lot of that's been reverse engineered, and that's why they
exactly. That's why
that's what they used. The Foo Fighters were done with mercury. That the Germans already had those in the 30s. So that stuff's outdated technology. Die Glockt the bell. That's what that means.
Das
means the
Das Glockenspiel.
Yeah, Das Glockenspiel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Wunderwaffen.
Wunderwaffen. Yeah, Wunderwaffen. Jawohl.
This special weapon. Special weapon.
Yep. Yeah, so it actually means wonder weapon or special weapon. Yeah, secret special weapon. Yeah, I speak enough German to have like African Americans.
So Nazis, you were talking.
I'm not though. I'm not a Nazi, man.
So when you were talking, Rob, there was a couple of names that came to mind. One of them was the TRB-3. And TRB-3 is the screen that I'm sharing right now. If you want to toss that up there, right? There's a video of it, of this TR-3B. Here, I'll see if I can play this.
Well, they say up to 70% of what we see is terrestrial craft.
Yeah, I would say it might even be more than that.
When they're talking about these specific classified missions, they do reference that in a sense to say that they know that there are some craft that is terrestrial, but this is specifically dealing with the ones that they don't know.
Right.
So it's not, terrestrial craft is cool, and I know that there's a lot of sightings that are misconstrued as that, but what they're talking about is not that at all. This is basically disclosure on things that they literally cannot identify. And think about it this way, too. If it's a classified briefing, right? And this is an intelligence agent who's got the highest classification levels out of anybody, okay? If they're talking about disclosure with those people, they know what's up in the air and when. If it's ours. So That's
Right.
why I
Robert,
preface this as such a big deal myself. But I literally just gave you people
you had,
disclosure. So we're here now.
you had mentioned
Now,
you had mentioned the aerospace engineering, and the one that's really connected to this is Robert Bigelow. And Robert Bigelow was the one that was connected to Tom DeLonge of Blink, whatever that band was. But a couple of years ago, he tried to do a disclosure. Along with that, Robert Bigelow
Blink
was
182.
involved. Now, Robert Bigelow is the owner of like a hotel chain, but he got into the UFOs back in the 1990s, early 90s. I think it was like 93 or something. And since then, he's involved himself into reverse engineering extraterrestrial technology, and so far he's been pretty successful at that. And if you guys want to learn more about Tom DeLonge and Robert Bigelow, I would suggest to look up portaltoascension.org. Go there with Neil Gore, because he's done several videos. In fact, I think it was a whole series he did on this whole topic. He was very up to date with it. So check that out, portaltoascension.org. Just a quick shout out.
I think
that's what came to mind. That's what came to mind when you were talking, Rob, was the TR3B and Robert Bigelow. And I really wouldn't be too surprised with this that's happening in France if that had some sort of a back connection to Robert Bigelow.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. A lot. I bet you.
I think Grant Cameron is another one that you can look up. That's done some really intensive research on Tom DeLonge and Robert Bigelow.
Well, here's a question. Here's a question for you.
Is that who it is, Leonard? Grant Cameron, that Neil works with, that did a huge thing on Robert Bigelow and Tom DeLonge there a couple of years ago.
I believe it was, yes.
You've seen Tom DeLonge's show on History Channel. What did you think of that? I know he's more into the community than what that show gave him an opportunity to show.
I really don't have an opinion on that because I don't watch television. To say, I usually just watch YouTube, and I download things off torrents, and I watch that, and I kind of really stay away from mainstream TV. And I usually give myself an hour or so in the morning to go through all the mainstream TV of what they're saying, and then the rest of the day I spend really connecting the dots on what they said. Whether it's true or not, and if it's true, then I find that info and I toss it on the back burner, and I just kind of wait till it piles up. But otherwise, I don't know.
Let it marinate. You let it marinate in the back until it pops out. You let it marinate like a good steak.
Yeah, that's the advice that I took from David Icke. David Icke says, when you're connecting the dots, the information that comes up, toss it onto the back burner and just let it simmer there until a pile builds up to the point where you can no longer ignore it and where everything's connecting the dots. Then that's what I do, right? Then that's why it took 15 months for me to do my Saturn presentation. I just sit back and I just get information. So I wasn't even aware that Tom DeLonge had a show on the History Channel.
Well, we talked about that between me and you, Omar. How I was like, when I told you, I was like, listen, I'm going and doing this Golden Age of Disclosure. This thing is like a rabbit hole.
I recall that.
I keep going, like it doesn't stop. Like I'm trying to get specific. I'm trying to break it down so when it comes out, it has a little bit of everything in each episode. And when I tell you it's going to be magical because I really connect the dots, it's going to be freaking magical. Like it's going to, and that's what happened today. We're going to be a little Expelliarmus, but what I was doing today is when I saw that.
Sound effects,
I'm working on it. I'm working on an app. I'm working on it.
I was saying that with my show with Jerome the other day. I need some drum rolls and I need whistles and
Yeah.
things like that, right?
Even
Yeah.
listen, even just a pew pew would be nice, you know? Pew
Yeah.
pew. Like so when I was doing the 2 days ago when I saw this disclosure, I said, okay, all right, calm down. We gotta see what's out in the atmosphere, what's going on. So I had written down that jet engine like 3 months ago, 4 months ago. And I looked at it, I was like, oh shit, like this works, like this connects. They're talking about one. Obviously, they were, and when they were talking about in the article, it was like October of 2019. So it was close to when they were talking about each other, you know. I was also going through Popular Science, and UK and the US are having problems with Russia. Russia's building these it has a satellite that's been out there since 2008. That was another article I was going to bring up, but we'll just run on free talk for now because we're only going to go for a little bit longer. But Russia and the US and the UK were having issues because Russia put the satellite into orbit and they were like, dude, what are you doing? Like, that's a weapon. Okay. Like, we see that that's a weapon. Like, we're not dumb. You're literally just using that as like an anti-satellite weapon.
It's
And
kind
they
of
were
cool
like-
that you just said that, weaponizing space, because what was it, just a week ago, I think China shot a satellite out of space
Yep.
using terrestrial weapons. So they're already talking about
Well, that's
how
the thing is,
weaponized.
you know, all those people are conglomerated with the UN, and the UN actually has a treaty for space. That space can
and
only
UN
be
is
used.
owned by the Rockefellers, funded by the Rockefellers and the
Right.
Rothschilds.
Exactly. So they own space too, by the way.
Yeah.
Just to let you know.
Yeah.
But
Well,
and
they
I
don't
get it.
own it. They think they own it.
You know what I mean. They're
Yeah, I
monetized.
know.
They're monetizing everything in space.
Yeah.
So when they start mining fucking meteorites, they're gonna bring back the precious metals and say it's theirs too. But regardless, so there's a
You know
treaty
they will.
that there's a United Nations, I believe, if off the top of my head, I think it's called the United Nations Office of Space Affairs, and they literally maintain space. Like anything that has to do with space, like they are the ones who are in the forefront. They're the lawmakers. Like you mess with the UN when you mess with space. So Russia, Russia and the UN have always had they're like on the same side right now, but they've always had a very like butting heads type of relationship. So they're basically saying the UK and the US are like, dude, what are you doing? Like in 2008, they're like, bro, you can't do that. They're like, come on, man, just don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's whatever, it's not going to do nothing. It's just sitting there. It's not hurting nobody. And it came really close to US satellite. So they were like, all right, you know what? If anything happens, like that's it. Like it's over. We're gonna shoot your sky. You shoot out of the sky for you. So it's 2 years past. Last month, they're like, oh, okay, it's getting really close again. And then they used it to literally like shoot at something, and between like the UK and the US, and they were like, bro, we told you that was a weapon, and they're like, no, it's not, like. Because it's like literally just taking down like all of their ability to broadcast on these satellites. It's not shooting like a ray gun at the satellite. So it's really funny. They're like, oh, well, like I have a whole article on it. I'm going to do a whole nother show on it because it's really cool. Like the interaction between the two. But I thought that was wild, bro. Like what these people are like, oh, come on, bro. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's just a satellite. Like, stop. You're being foolish. Like, that's like when your girlfriend, like, you're like, listen, babe, dinner was good, but it's not great, And she's like, now you're just being foolish and trying to hurt me, And that's what Russia's trying to do to the UN. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Well, when you look at the UN logo, it has the two weeds coming out, which is an expression of horns. And then when you look at the Earth, it has a target on it. And how really appropriate for an organization that works against humanity. So, I don't doubt what you're saying, none whatsoever, right? Because they're all funded by the same organization that
that's just it.
Harm to us, and they don't want us advancing any further than what we currently are. In fact, we're too advanced for their liking. Internet was the first thing that happened to the Rothschilds.
Right, right. The crazy thing about a lot of the space stuff that I was looking up today too was that the United Arab Emirates is sending up their first probe to Mars because everything's lined up right now. Everything's
Yeah,
all lined up, so it's the fastest pathway to get there. They can slingshot around
yeah.
planets and shoot all the way there.
Unlike
So,
Cassini back in the 70s.
yep, yeah. So I mean, there's really like 7 capable programs for space, but there's 72 countries who are in the UN, so they like piggyback off each other. But the United Arab Emirates are literally using a Japanese rocket at a place in China on the Chinese mission to get this thing to Mars. So it's and if you notice, those are the countries that tend to be like on the side of bad as opposed to the side of good, and they're all working together to try and take over space. Like there's only 4 flags on the moon, but there's
Right.
7.
Maybe that's why Donald Trump created the Space Force.
He traded it.
No, created it.
Oh yeah. That's why I did the video. It's really
Space Force
cool.
to combat what these
Right.
other nations are doing. So
Right.
when it comes to space, let me ask you this question. Do you think that space is intelligently designed? Because when we look at the planets, they're exactly the same distance apart, the inner planets and the outer gas planets. And It's kind of funny as how the inner planets are rocky planets and the outer planets are gas planets. So do you think that there may be some sort of a intelligent design to that?
There's a correlation. I want to say correlation because I don't know whether it's intelligent or not. I believe in my heart of hearts that it is, but I have no real definitive proof of that. But if you
That's
look
proof
at
enough.
like everything that we see is like the Earth is a microcosm for what's going on out there. Everything is relatable in the sense of a full circle, if you get what I mean.
I catch you on from the perspective of I'm a projection of you as you're a projection of me. So whatever
Right.
is projecting out in space is being projected onto us because through the cosmic web, we're all connected. So the
Right.
thought process and the intention and the action that's taking place is affecting us just as our intentions and our actions and thoughts are affecting the space that we are connected to.
Right. Exactly right.
I think it
Let's-
was designed. I think it was designed that way.
I think it's the Matrix, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was designed that way out of necessity. Everything in space is done like to perfection. It's done because certain things need to be in certain places. If you look at it, our entire galaxy right here, or just let's say our solar system. Our solar system has everything the human race needs to survive a very, very, very long time. Once we get to these different places, like the moon, the sand that's on the moon can fuel this planet for like almost 1 million years, just by taking and refining that dust that's laying on top of the moon, all the way around the moon. So the moon rocks and all that stuff is fuel for us. Then when you go further out and you go like on the moons of Io, there's an entire moon that has basically gasoline floating around as an ocean.
Right.
Okay. And there's another one that has helium and another one that has mercury. So everything that we need for fuel or everything that we need for anything is right here in our own backyard. We just need to go and pick it out of the garden that we planted for ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I think it's
So I think it's that way. I think it happens that way naturally in the universe because certain things, just like if you take oil, gasoline, and water, and you mix them all up, they separate on their own.
Right.
Or you could be in the Matrix, and the Matrix is creating all this as a already set program.
Oddly enough, check this out. Oddly enough, speaking of that, I'm watching auto racing the other day, Thursday, NASCAR. And Richard Childress, one of the famous NASCAR drivers and owners of big NASCAR teams, he allowed the cameras to come in and film his little complex that they have where they all sit in there and they all do the control room. And it's not for the control room for the show. It's the control room for their cars and what they need to do. They have a computer algorithm that predicts what they should do based on all the information put into and tracking real time from the car that they're driving. And it also tracks all other cars in the race, and they will predict what's going to happen. And they were tracking this, and the computer was predicting that on this next yellow stop, 3 car drivers are going to come in, and the computer said those 3, that all the people that are going to come in, there's like 35 cars. They said like 18 cars are going to come and pit, the rest are going to stay out. 3 cars are going to get right side tires only. All the rest of the cars are going to get 4 tires and a full tank of gas. And these 3 are the cars that are going to do that. And those 3 cars took on right side tires only.
Oh, wow. That's
and that happened more often than not. And they said, well, everybody's using this program. And I'm like, okay, well, here's the problem, people. Everyone's using the program, and the computer's job is to predict everything. The computer has already predicted but not shown you who's going to win the race based on all the variables that are happening, and it changes the story if there's a wreck or if something happens that it didn't predict. So what will happen is, if you continue to listen to the computer is going to decide the race, not you guys.
Right.
Not the driver, because the computer is going to tell you what you're supposed to do. That's so when you said the Matrix, literally now NASCAR is going down the slippery slope of listening to this heavy-minded computer that's jacked into all other computers, so it knows the secrets of every single pit crew, right? So it's in there designing ahead of time. This is what these people need to do. This is what we need to do. This is what, and if you get nanites in your head, right? Like that woman said, with the gel that they want to put on, that the nanites are going to get in your brain, and you're going to be hooked into your computers and everything. So you're going to be driving, and the computer's going to decide you're going to crash your car. And what's going to happen? You're going to crash your car because the computer jacks in your nanites and says, crash into the guy next to you.
Right.
We haven't had enough ratings. We haven't had enough ratings today because we haven't had enough crashes. We need one more crash, a big one. So you 2 crash into each other and make sure that you crash into 4 or 5 other cars, and we get a 6-car, 7-car pileup. That drives up the ratings. And it'll happen. Isn't that? I mean, think about that, bro. They'll do it.
Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. All right, guys, I gotta bail. I gotta meet my wife. And
we're gonna do closing right now. So Omar, in closing,
pretty big beers, and
you got it, bro. What you got? Say what you want in closing. Let's end the show.
I just want to say thank you very much, Rob, and I'm very excited to see you manifest into what you're manifesting into. I think it's beautiful, and it's wonderful to see. I've gone through this experience myself. I watched Leo go through this very same experience. Clarence watched me go through this, and
Dino watched us all go through it.
Yeah, I've seen this process take place, and I've never really seen it from outside of the cube, and and I'm really I feel really privileged that I do get to see this progress and these manifestations that you're taking, to progress in front of my face, and I'm seeing this, and from that I'm learning. And like prior to the show, Leo and I were talking when you were rebooting. Leo and I were saying, "Oh, I remember doing that," and then Leo's like, "Yeah. I remember this guy did that." Remember that? So we've gone through the process, right? And at the end of the day, I just feel privileged that, because I've gone through it, and I really didn't get to see myself go through it, right? So I'm really seeing it from the outside of the cube, and really seeing the journey that you're on, because that was the same journey that I was on. So the more that I watch you, and the more that I see what you're doing, is really, I'm learning about myself and learning about the path that is in front of me and this journey that I'm on. So, at the end of the day, all of this kind of really connects all of us together, and the circuit that we have, is a beautiful thing, and its sole focus is to give information. And that was a journey that I started with, and then Leo picked up that baton, and then he went with it because I had some shit happen in my family, and we couldn't do shows anymore. And then and then Clarence has been doing it for longer than myself, and then you came along as a guest, And then from a guest, you progressed into, saying, hey, fuck it, I'm going to have my own show too. And, I'm really excited to see that, and for me, that is a really great highlight when I cruise through Facebook and YouTube on a daily basis, and I see the progression, and then it takes me back to what I was doing, and then I try to put myself in that same position. And that's what I mean by viewing myself outside of the cube, because I'm a projection of you as you are a projection of me, and and it can't speak any truer than seeing this journey that you're on, that I've already been on, and then to see it really elevates me to a higher level, consciously and subconsciously, because it shows me what I did and what I didn't do, and what I should do and what I shouldn't do. So thank you very much, because it's a really an educating experience.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate you giving me my chance to really come out there and do my thing and really formulate my words and get comfortable with the mic. And I mean, I started as like a guest caller, and I guess I got the bug with Clarence, and then he's been gone for a little while. Hopefully, it comes back soon. But we kind of picked up where you and him were for a little while.
All right. He got sick again, so he's doing all right.
I heard.
He'll be back. I heard on the grapevine that he's going to be back here pretty quick.
Yep.
So and one thing I want to say to people out there is the best thing you can do for all of us that are starting and going forward. A lot of these guys like Leonard and Omar have been doing it for a while. Just support us, help us. The more we grow, the better it is for everybody. You get better content.
The better guests we will get.
Right.
The bigger your name is, bigger your subscriber list. Right.
Share,
the higher the guest gets.
Right. Share, like, subscribe. As you can see in the comments, I put a Patreon and a subscribe star. I have both. And what I'm doing now is I'm going to be, after this show, I'm going to do another half hour by myself of all the extra information that I have to upload more content for you. So to subscribe to those platforms is to get a lot more. I have 3 different tiers. You can start. I'm actually going to make a lower tier just for somebody who's kind of like a passerby and just wants to get into it. But these are the types of things that I mean by support us. Share it. Show people who we are, what we talk about, because that's important for us to get out there. To me, this is a dream. So a dream for me is to move forward and get better and create more of an audience, So, but I appreciate you, Omar. You gave me a chance when a lot of other people were like, we don't know who he is, we don't really know him. And you guys really took me in and let me do my thing and let me be me, which is the biggest thing to me, So I honor and respect you, and I appreciate you, bro. Of course.
You're me and I'm you.
Right.
We always have to keep in mind that, consciously we're all connected together because we all have the same source energy. And when I say that I'm a projection of you and you're a projection of me, I literally mean it, because we're one and the same. So, supporting us would mean that you're actually supporting yourself, right? Just looking at it from outside of a pixel on a greater, spectrum, right? And it's name of the show.
Absolutely.
And remember this.
Leo, go ahead.
When you're directing, when you're producing, directing, and hosting your own show, okay, there's always going to be stuff that's going to go wrong. Whenever you go live, you're going to have more things go wrong live than you do when you're recording, right?
Of
always
course.
Happens.
That's why I didn't panic today. When it all went down, I didn't panic today.
People were used to it. They realize that when you're live, especially if you just come back and go, hey, what are you going to do live TV? What are you going to do? And if you have that attitude, which you do, you're very calm, you're very poised, you're very confident. You don't panic under fire, and you're a talker, so you're not at a loss for words, so you don't get to a place and go, oh man, what am I going to talk about next? You're a natural at this, just like we are, and that you got to shut us up or we'll talk forever.
That's
okay.
Fact.
So that's a good thing, and that's why you do this. The more people, right? The more people like us that do this, the more we can get our word out there to the people. And everybody's got a podcast, but people are doing foo-foo stuff with their podcasts. Look, this is how you build a teddy bear. You take this cotton and you shove it in here. right?
I want substance. I want difference.
Yeah.
I want to touch on every subject that I can get my hands on. Like,
right?
I am
Exactly.
passionate about everything.
But you know what? You will get to the point where, like when we were talking about the girls over in the Czech Republic, there's an astronaut in the United States that I was going to hook up with and get him on my show. They were talking to him and said, do you know anybody that can help us get our word out? He said to them, the guys over at Orion Rising seem to have you guys covered, so don't worry about it. They'll take care of you. Okay?
Mhm.
Most people don't realize I'm a one-man show.
Right.
They think I have a whole production team behind me that does this. I don't. And just so you guys know, I will
just
also
me.
be hooking up Patreon and that sort of stuff to all of my podcasts. Because right now I broadcast on YouTube, on Facebook, on and then my podcast, my MP3 podcast goes out from Podbean and Anchor FM, and those shoot out to 14 different places currently, and then those shoot out from there to other places. So I'm listened to in 60 countries. So you guys will have that Patreon in the description on all my podcasts soon. I just haven't hooked it up right now because I don't want to commingle my money because I am an actual company. Right. My name is an actual company. I'm all of this falls under Leonard O'Neill Investing.
I'm in the work of doing that too, trademarking and getting a tax ID number and things like that, so we can.
Yeah, it just costs some money.
Forward.
I got I did it when I was in Arizona, and I run the company, and because it's an online company, I don't have to pay the state of California because I'm here because I'm already paying the state of Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And the federal
well, if we have it our way, in a couple of months, we're not going to be forcing to do that. If Trump does what he needs to do and ousts the central bank, then all these corporations that we're streaming on, the structure is going to be totally different, and we're not going to be forced to do this. And like I said, man, earlier on, the biggest story on the planet, 5 months in, and there's no mainstream media talking about this. And
that's why we're here.
Probably the only places where you've heard is on here on Full Spectrum Universe with Michael Tallinger, Watchers Talk, Orion Rising, and really beyond that, really nobody's talking about it. So that's why when today I came on, Rob said to you yesterday, pick a subject, come on. And I was like, holy fuck, what a great opportunity to toss this information out there so people become aware that the central bank has been ousted from the United States. So for us to worry about all this money and all this stuff, hopefully in the next few months, all this worry is going to be gone.
Yep. And just so you guys know out there, if you listen to or watch Orion Rising, if you don't want to hear the politics, don't start a show that's entitled Orion Rising News.
Yeah.
I have put all politics and cabal under that genre. You will see it has its own logo. It says Orion Rising News. If you see that as the button to press to start it, don't do it if you don't want to get offended.
Well, that's exactly right. That's what the golden age.
Guys.
Go ahead. Thank you for coming on, Omar. That's what.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rob. I gotta take a leak and I gotta go and visit my wife. She's waiting for me at the park. Thank you very much again for giving me the opportunity to be on here. Really appreciate it, and I look forward to having more streams with you.
Of course.
Share some more knowledge.
Absolutely, bro.
Okay, much love, my friend. Thank you very much.
Later, Omar.
Okay, later, Leonard. I'll give you a shout later on tonight, brother.
All right, brother.
Okay, bye.
See you. And that's one of the golden age of disclosure is going to be. It's going to manifest into some whatever political side. This is going to be more of the paranormal side. And when I say support, the reason why I ask for support from people is because I want to get a team out there to report on things firsthand, send them, fly them. We have T-shirts coming up. I'm going to be making T-shirts soon, so we'll be getting T-shirts for the show once we get a couple people, and we'll be doing giveaways that the people who 7th or 8th person who goes into my email will give free T-shirts away, and then all I ask is you send a picture back of the free T-shirt on you, so we can post it on a board. Things like that. We're going to make it interactive. I want this to be one of the biggest interactive shows. In my Patreons, I have where you can actually dictate what some of the research that we do. So when you come on the show or we do a show, it's geared towards what those people who are paying extra want to see. So it's tailored for both ways. But I want to try and make this my 9 to 5. Researching takes a long time. It takes a lot of my time.
So does editing when you're producing.
Right.
Editing takes
I'm
a
not
long
there
time.
yet. I'm not
Yeah.
editing or producing. We're doing live streams to episodes.
I actually enjoy that. I've been, I try to cut down that's why I've cut my show down to one show per week, and then I pop videos out. I was doing a Monday, Wednesday, Friday show. I may start going back to that. I'm not sure because, you were saying you were going to pick up the girls in the Czech Republic, and they keep coming to me with stuff too. So if you don't pick them up soon, brother, I'm going to pick them up.
No, go ahead, because I keep trying to ask them, and I'm asking them, and they never answer me back in time. They send me all the videos that they're doing.
Yeah,
but I'm like, maybe they're not comfortable with me. I don't know, but
they may not know you. If I tell them
Right.
who you are, they'll send you because what they do is they translate the videos or their sessions into English, and she sends them to me.
That guy does it for him.
Oh, they have a guy doing it for him now. Before it was just
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe
so. It's
so.
just
I believe so. I mean,
I haven't talked to them. I'll have to find out because they said they were going to have somebody start helping them who could translate it faster. So if they did, that's good because you can get more information because I would take that information and I'd plug it into the computer. And like the Law of One, I used one that had an American accent, though. I used the one that has an American male accent. And I use that one. That way I don't have to sit here and just constantly read it. I just turn it on, put it in there, dump it in there, and press play. And the computer reads it for me. And then I cut in and talk and make comments and cut back and go. Right? Just like I do with Law of One. So that works out. So I may start that up, but I don't know because I'm not sure about that because I like the producing side.
Right. I'm sure
I don't have to talk as much, but it is a lot of work, especially the editing. Editing happens slowly, and then when you render a video, it happens in real time. Right. So you have to make sure you make all the cuts right. I made a video that was less than an hour, and I had 47 edits, right? 47 edits and 2 songs, 4 banners, 4 pictures, and then there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 videos that I pushed all together and had to edit all that together. And when I got done with it, then it renders in full time. So you have to sit and watch it to make sure that when you watch it first to make sure that you have it in the sequence that you want it in.
Right.
And then you go through and render it, and then you can walk away and let it render, and then come back. But then you have to watch it again to make sure that it was edited properly. Right. So editing takes a long time, but it's actually really worth it. And I don't know why those guys make the big bucks.
Well, Doug Fish has commented, "This is bad." What's bad, Doug?
This is bad. He's like probably because we're just hanging out and talking, right? Okay,
I'm sure.
Yeah. So guys, I'll be hooking up Patreon as well because I take a loss, hundreds and hundreds of dollars a year. I take a loss
all
on
the time.
This. Because I'm paying for everything. I'm paying for 100% of everything.
That's what I'm doing too.
Yeah. So it's not cheap. We bring you guys this information. We try to bring it to you for free, but we got to live too, right? It's just like in the industry for magic and healing, right? I'm a Reiki master teacher, and some people go, well, everything should be free. I agree with you. If everything was free, I would do everything for free. Okay, but I have to eat. I have to have a roof over my head. I have to have food. You wouldn't tell your car mechanic you should do this for me for free.
Right.
Or you tell your doctor, hey, this should be free. You shouldn't be charging me for doing a surgery on me.
Well, it comes down to if you find it entertaining, support the people you are entertained by. If you're not, go on to the next one.
Right, and I tell people that on my show. I mean, you saw me live yesterday. Like, if you don't like this content that I have right now, change the channel. You have free will.
Right.
Right. Don't camp in my audience and talk smack in my chat. Just get the hell out.
Right. Right. We're coming up. We're coming up on 152.
I'll let you go. Right. We're at 152.
Yeah.
I'll let you go. Thank you for having me on here.
Thank you for coming, man. It was a pleasure.
I love, like Omar said, I love watching because I didn't get to see me go through what you're going through. And I remember when Dino Hewlett from Paranormal Into the Night, he's the one that got me into this. He got me on his show and interviewed me. And I got the bug, and then I hooked up with Omar, and Omar was doing his show, and then I was helping produce his show, but I wasn't doing any talking.
Right.
And then I found Neil Gore and his wife and their partner from Portal to Ascension, and he said, how about you interview them? I did, and they convinced me, Neil did afterwards, he and his wife, that I should be doing this. Right. So then I started doing it with Omar, but he had a tragedy in his family, and he couldn't do a show anymore. And I said, I'm going to start my own show, bro. And so I started the show.
Well, that's part of it too. I don't want to wait for other people to start doing a show just so I can jump on and be like, hey, can I come on?
Right.
So I do my own
you
thing.
Just start your own show. Right.
And
I'll
I
let
got
you
the
go
book
because you
too.
got to do the 30-minute thing by yourself. So
yeah.
Thank you again for having me on. I had no idea how long we were going to go, and I was like, wow,
okay.
we're running for 2 hours. All right,
good.
brother. Anytime you want me on to talk about any topic, let me know, and I'll make sure that I schedule it and I come on. Unless I have a show going at the same time, then I'll be like, Rob, we're fighting over people. So
that's right. Tell them where they can find you again. Tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, guys, Orion Rising is the name of my show. Let me put my logo back up here. Let me turn off my camera. There's my logo right there. It is the Orion constellation above the Giza Plateau, Orion Rising. You'll find all of my shows wherever you look for them on any podcast. That's the logo I use. Go on Facebook to Orion Rising, the page. There's also a group called Orion Rising. It's also my book. I have a book called Orion Rising that is based on all of the theories from. That's where I got my logo from. I designed the cover of my book, and I use that as my logo. That is a fictitious what if, like Dan Brown did. What if all the ancient alien stories were true? And I made up a story, and it turns out it's true. So the story that I made up happens every day. It just has different names. Okay, so you can find my show on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel called Orion Rising. It has that logo on it. Or your podcast, MP3 podcast, anywhere that you listen to a podcast. Everybody who 75% of my listeners is on Apple Podcasts, so I know that it's there for certain. I put it out there to iTunes and a bunch of other places. You can find me on Podcast Addict. That's my second highest podcast listener base on the planet. But it comes anywhere you listen, and if I'm not there, let me know, and I will put it up there. All right, so that's my show, Orion Rising. Like I said, Orion Rising News is all going to be about news and politics. Any other logo is going to be about any other thing. Friday nights I'm going to be streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. I'm going to start doing that and going live until I get shadow banned again. And I'm going to probably do audio only unless Omar comes back and wants to do video. It'll be audio only with pictures and stuff for you guys, and that way I'm going to be streaming live on both Facebook channel and YouTube page. All right, Rob, thank you again for having me on here. And
Leonard, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Have at it, brother. Don't stop running. Hit the ground running like you have, and just keep moving, baby.
This is how we do it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right, bro.
We'll talk to you soon.
Have a good night.
You too. All right, guys, it's just us now. I just want to say thank you to everybody that was a part of the show this evening, everybody in the comments. Please, if you want to support my channel, if you want to support me, go subscribe on YouTube, like my videos, leave comments, things like that. If you like to get more content, we have a Patreon subscription. It's in the comments below. We also have a subscribe star. If you want to keep going, I do videos all the time, hour, half hour, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, filled with information. Please, I'm asking for your support. We need all the help we can get right now. We're a small company. We're trying to hit the ground running, and we're trying to get off the ground. So if there's any support you could give, thank you very much. I want to thank everybody on Facebook. I want to thank my guests again, Omar and Leonard. That is Watchers Talk Radio and Orion Rising. And Facebook for right now. I'm going to see you later.